The story of tomorrow, a human narrative we are writing in every moment. Welcome back to the Creator Era podcast. We are living in a time defining a chapter of human history, a moment where choices we make will echo for generations to come. In every part of this world, across humanity, we can feel it, the pace, the pressure, the division, and the disconnect. Our systems are strained. Our attention is fragmented, and our hearts are tired and fatigued with sadness. We have created extraordinary technology, and yet many of us feel more isolated and alone than ever. This is not just about political, economical, or environmental turning points. It is a spiritual and psychological one. It is about who we are becoming as a human race. It's about remembering what it means to be human in a world that is moving faster than our ability to feel it anymore. When I speak of humanity, I mean relating to the human within each other as the essence of us that shares the same journey. When we strip away the labels, the titles, the systems, and everything that defines us as being human in a title-oriented way, we have one profound, simple truth. Humanity is one family living together in one shared home. We call this Earth. Somewhere along the way, we have forgotten this. We become distracted by illusion and division and narratives, by the performance of life instead of living it. And we mistake visibility for value, productivity for purpose, and information for understanding. And in the process, we've lost touch with the quiet, enduring truth that connects all of us. We are a shared humanity. We share the story of humanity, and our shared responsibility is towards one another. This moment, this instability, and this uncertainty isn't the end of something. It's rather the invitation to begin again, to start with a new lens. It is asking us to slow down, to breathe, and remember that what unites us has always been greater than what divides us. We have to remember this. It is asking us to bring humanity back to the center of who we are, our storytelling, our essence, our love, and to root in our wisdom. Because without wisdom, progress is simply noise and clutter, and without direction and connection, and innovation becomes empty. We're being called to evolve not just in technology, but in how we interact as a humanity, as one family, with empathy and with meaning and leadership found in heart, to reimagine progress not as domination, but as cooperation, a collective community. This is the great work of our time, to remember who we are and to write the story of what humanity can be. I love story, and I believe stories hold keys of wisdom to serve as signposts, and depending on your perspective, you can take from story and offer insights to yourself on your journey. Look for the good revelations, the redemptions, and the evolutions riddled through narratives of all time. They reflect our own journey. Look at people's own personal stories and find connection point. You are being mirrored. To understand where we are as a civilization, we have to look at the great stories that came before us, the myths, the allegories that have guided humanity through transformation. They are transmissions archiving human evolution. They were never just literature. They were mirrors and they were maps, pathways to guide us. One of the most important and one of my beloved stories is The Divine Comedy by the Italian poet Dante Alighieri, written in the early 14th century. It's considered one of the greatest works in human history, one that I refer to often, not only because of its language and imagination, but because of what it reveals about the human condition and evolution. Dante begins the story lost in a dark wood where the straight way was lost. That line alone feels timeless because it's where we all begin, lost, confused, and trying to find our way back to meaning. And our life stories reveal this. Guided by the Roman poet Virgil, Dante descends into the Inferno, a journey through 9 circles of hell, each representing a different distortion of love, greed, pride, envy, violence, and apathy. He meets people who have been consumed what they once worshipped: money, power, image, desire. Sound familiar? But the Divine Comedy is not a story about punishment. It is about recognition. Dante isn't describing a place beneath the earth. He is describing the human psyche, when it has forgotten its true source, and it is a reminder to go back. It's an allegory for what happens when we lose sight of wisdom and when we confuse appearance with reality, illusion, when we forget that our actions are connected to everything and everyone else. It is a descent into ignorance itself, a mirror of humanity when it becomes disconnected from love and distorted with illusion. But what's important and what makes the story divine and incredible is that the descent is not the end. It is the beginning of transformation. Dante travels with us through purgatory, the mountain of purification, wisdom, enlightenment. This eventually ascends to paradiso, the realm of understanding, where he comes face to face with what he calls the love that moves the sun and the other stars. The epitome of life and realization. Dante's journey is the journey of all of us, individuals and societies alike. It is the recognition that we first must see our own darkness to rise into the light. The descent into the inferno, personal or collective, is not to destroy us, but it is to humble us. It is how we grow conscious of what we've created and what we must choose differently for evolution. And in many ways, humanity now stands in this inferno. Our greed, our disconnect, our speed, our addiction to distraction. These are not moral failures. They are symptoms of forgetting, a deep disconnect. But as with Dante, our descent has purpose. The point is not to stay in darkness and suffer. This is never the point, but it's to walk through this journey with awareness that the darkness is a teacher, because only when we can look at what is broken without denial, without judgment, can we rebuild from this truth with trust and acceptance. And we can understand from our patterns and choose another way. Stories are archiving what we need to learn. The Divine Comedy reminds us that descent and ascent are part of the same journey. What looks like a collapse is often a passage. What feels like chaos is the beginning of coherency. The breaking is never the end. It is the invitation to remember. And what we are remembering is not something new. It is the most purest, most ancient truth that humanity has always carried. Just forgot that love is not a feeling but a force, that wisdom is knowledge integrated, and that we cannot rise alone. We need each other. The descent then is sacred, and it is a space where humility becomes strength and where awareness becomes the light. And through each other, we can mirror what we need to see that we have forgotten, so we can begin again and awake. And what makes this incredible to understand is that we share this journey and not alone. And in understanding life, we can neutralize fear, because we fear only that remains unknown. But through understanding in these journeys, the hero journey, we can lean in with a greater understanding through wisdom. If Dante offered us the map of the soul's descent and ascent, the mythologist Joseph Campbell gave us the language of its patterns, what he called the hero's journey. We all live this journey. Campbell devoted his life to studying the greatest stories of humanity, from the epics of Greece and India to the tribal myths of Africa and the Americas. And what he discovered was astonishing and so true. Beneath every story, every religion, every culture, there was one same pattern. The same architecture of transformation through evolution. He called this the monomyth, the single story told through 1,000 masks, 1,000 faces, 1,000 forms. It begins with the call to an adventure, the whisper of the soul tugging at you and saying there's more. This is not life. This is not it. The call to step beyond your comfort zone, beyond what is known. But often, as Campbell pointed out, the call is refused. The hero, like all of us, clings to what is familiar, afraid to risk what is unknown. And only when life shakes our foundation, when something within us or around us collapses, do we finally surrender, because we are forced to listen. Then comes the crossing of the threshold, the moment we step into the unknown, leaving behind certainty. The excitement is where the fear, doubt, and resistance arise. The old identity begin to dissolve, and the hero meets the mentors and the trials, forces that test, that shapes and awakens us. There are the dragons to face, not outside but within. The dragon in every story is not a monster to destroy, but a shadow to understand. And in the mythic language, the dragon guards the greatest treasure of all, meaning that the very thing we fear holds the key to the greatest growth. It's the treasure laying beyond that journey, the descent, the challenge, the loss, the failure, all of it is just preparation for the next version of ourselves, the next chapter. And finally, after that transformation, there is the great return. The hero comes back home, changed, matured, bearing to the elixir, the insight, the light. But the return is not for self-glory, it is for service. The true hero brings back the wisdom to heal the village. The journey was never about just the hero, it was about reawakening something within the whole, to offer the gift, the treasure back to its collective. This is what Campbell meant when he said, the privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. Because to be who you are is to live that cycle, the answer to the call, the descent, the transformation, and to return to wisdom. And that is where bravery lives. And that's where your treasure is revealed. He revealed that the hero's journey isn't just a story told in myth. It is a living being lived within the human itself. This is our purpose, to experience, to understand, and to evolve through lived experiences, known as wisdom. And as a species, we've heard the call many times, the call to awaken, the call to evolve, the call to live in greater harmony with each other and earth. And like the hero, we refuse it over and over again. We choose comfort. We choose distraction. We choose the same because we fear to be different. Now the call has come loud. It has crossed a threshold that nobody can deny anymore. Humanity is in the midst of a collective, of an initiation, a global hero journey. The challenge that we face are not punishments as a collective, they are teachers. Climate change, inequality, war, polarization. These are the dragons of the edge of the collective map, where we're being asked to step into a new narrative. They're asking us the same question that every hero must face. Will we confront what we've created, or will we continue to turn away and not take accountability? The treasure we seek, peace, unity, understanding, love, cannot be found by slaying the dragon. It never happens that way. It comes when we integrate, when we understand that what we fear is a part of us. The outer crisis mirrors the inner crisis. What we heal in ourselves, we heal in the collective story. To live heroically right now does not mean to fight. We see fighting is not the answer. It means to awaken, to take responsibility for the energy we bring into the world, to be brave, to stand in our truth, and to transform reaction into reflection and reflection into action through the art and act of love. The hero's path, like Dante's, is not a straight ascent to paradise. It is spiral. We descend and rise, fall and remember again and again. And every generation adds another ring to that spiral, deeper understanding, new forms of wisdom, shared through story. And this is where humanity stands now, a mid-journey between what has been and what has yet to come. We are in the passage of a testing ground, the space between forgetting and remembering. And our challenge is not to become the hero of a conquest, but the heroes of consciousness, of a new story to write, to live in integrity, humility, and empathy in a world that desperately needs all three, rooted in love. Because the real hero that Campbell reminds us of doesn't save the world, they awaken it. And that is the invitation before us now, to wake up together individually, to see that the story we're living is not separate from the story we're creating, and to choose intentionally and courageously of what comes next. It's our responsibility. And we need to show up for each other in this humanity. And the turning point is that we are standing at one of the most extraordinary thresholds in human history, a moment where everything we create, destroy, or ignore will ripple instantly across an entire planet. Why? Because the pace of our lives, the reach of our technology, and the scale of our systems is all grown so fast than our ability to feel, reflect, and integrate. We have built immense intelligence, but often without borders and not rooted in wisdom and love. And this is what happens at every great turning point of a civilization. Humanity reaches the edge of what it knows, only to realize that knowledge alone cannot guide the way forward in a collective evolution. When intellect outpaces empathy and when progress outgrows presence, we lose essence of life itself. And life, like nature, will always call us back into balance. It will make noise and cause chaos. And that is where we are now, at a collective point of return. And the crisis we face, like I had mentioned, social, environmental, and spiritual, are not separate events. They are the symptoms of the same forgetting. And we have built a world that is materially abundant, yet emotionally hungry, impoverished, and endlessly connected, yet alone. But the gift hidden within the imbalance is a choice. And for the first time history, humanity has both tools and awareness to reimagine everything and recreate the story. We can choose to evolve consciously or to shape the future, not as consumers of circumstances or victims, but of creators of coherency, balance, and authority and authorship. And to do that, we must begin where every true transformation begins, with a remembering. And we must remember that progress without meaning is simply just empty. And we can feel that. The innovation without empathy is really dangerous. And the intelligence without love is just incomplete. It makes us fragmented. We're not whole. And remembering doesn't mean returning to the past. It means bringing our humanity back into the present. It means designing systems that reflect our values, economies that honor the earth, and technologies that serve as extensions of who we are, but not as the end all, not as an addiction. And the turning point is not external, it's internal. Each of us stands at the threshold every day between reaction and response, between distraction and attention, and between fear and love. And what we choose individually is what we create collectively. And this is why the story we tell now matters. Because the narrative of humanity, the one we carry in our words, in our art, in our imagination, in our actions, becomes the blueprint for what we are building tomorrow. And if we tell stories of separation and continue these narratives, we will live divided. And if we tell stories of unity, we will find ways to reconnect. If we tell stories of renewal and love, we will make space for life to flourish again. And the turning point asks us to reclaim authorship, to move from passive observers of the world and its consequences to active participants in its evolution. And we are not here to wait for change. We're here to embody it, and we are here to live it right here and now. And as I mentioned, this does not require grand gestures. It begins with the smallest, most human acts of how we listen, how we speak, how we treat each other, how you live in your own home, how you treat your wife, your dog, your child, your coworker. Every choice carries creative power. Every word shapes the world around. And if we truly understood that the impact of our consciousness, the frequency of our thoughts, the reach of our stories, we would live with far more care, reverence, and humility. And the truth is simple, but obviously not easy to embody. We are both the problem and the possibility. We are the fracture and we are the healing. And the noise and the silence beneath it all. And the question is not whether humanity will survive. We will. We always do. The question is how will we live? Will we keep rebuilding the mirrors that blind us or bridges that bring us home? Will we keep running from our discomfort, scared to face our truth, or will we pause long enough to learn from what it has been teaching us? Because this collapse is an initiation, and what looks like division will be the space for coherency. And this is the moment to return to discover the beauty of humanity and to stand in our own light, to then be the light and the medicine that this world needs. This is why we're here, to understand ourselves, to live in a story that we create with intention, and to choose this in every moment. And this is the beauty of this life. It is the miracle that we get to choose to live every day. So in this episode, I truly invite you and humanity, as I do to myself every single day, to rise in the morning and to ask that question, what story am I choosing today? What story am I contributing to? And who am I in the greater story of creation and evolution? Because it matters. Every single one of us matters to write the story of humanity through its evolution.